Jeff Cordero has been a regular guest on Beaten and Bangin' dating back to last year. His last appearance was just a little over a week ago, previewing the 2024 season. We even talked about him coming on for more appearances this season. I didn't expect it to be this soon, but Cordero is celebrating with the number 24 team as winners of the Daytona 500. And I'm happy to welcome back to the channel Jeff Cordero, the front tire changer for the number 24 car and Daytona 500 champion, William Byron. Welcome back, Jeff.
Well, thanks for having me. If we keep winning races, I'll keep coming on every week if you need it.
All right, Jeff. So you're now a Daytona 500 champion, member of a pit crew. Have you ever had this experience before?
No, but I've been on the other side of it. I finished second in 2019, complete heartbreak. So to actually be on the other side of it and win, it's pretty awesome.
Okay, I'm sure it is. So let's go back to the race and what happened in the race. I know I heard Denny Hamlin talking this week on his podcast that 2 laps in, they were already saving fuel, and it was not what he expected or wanted. Super speedways have become a fuel strategy. For you guys on pit road, obviously the gas man is so important. Talk to me a little bit about the pit stops during the 500 now with the next gen car and how it's kind of changed over the last couple of years.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty common knowledge, the strategy that has really been employed the last 2 years with this next gen car. Under green, you try to spend the least amount of time on pit road as possible. And then under caution is when you do all your big work, all of your, 4 tires, 19, 20 gallons worth of gas. But all you're really doing during this, like during the green flag runs, is you want to get on and off pit road, take just enough gas to get to the next caution, the next stage that you can. And I think we at Hendrick Motorsports and on the 24 car, we did a really good job of it. Landon, who is our gas man, executed absolutely perfectly. If Rudy said he needed, 3.5 seconds of gas, Landon gave him 3.5 seconds of gas. There was no 3 seconds. There was no 4 seconds. There was no wasted time and no wasted opportunity on pit road. And if you watch during the race, like we always seemed when we did those green flag pit stops, we might be 20th before everyone starts pitting. And then when the whole cycle happens, we end up being in the top 5, top 10. So we definitely executed well on the green flag pit stops. William getting on and off pit road, landing gas in the race car, and Brandon Lyons getting him back in line.
It seems like this is kind of an extension of last year, though, because I heard multiple people talking about it after the race that you won, and it was just continuing what you had already done last year with the 24 team. So talk to me to the end of the race. We've got 9 laps to go. The big one happens. William is involved at the very front of it and avoids the, being caught up in the accident. What is going through your mind and the team's mind? Because I know when we talked a little over a week ago, you talked about you're always ready. You want a pit stop so your team can perform and shine. What is going through the 24 pit crew's mind when that caution comes out and you know that your driver's coming down pit road?
Yeah, so I think at places here like Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta this weekend, tires don't mean as much. It's really just as if you have enough gas to make it to the end of the race, you're pretty much set if you have air in the tires. So for us, races like Daytona and Talladega, like we don't want to pit at the very end because that usually means something bad has happened. Usually in those races, you stick to your strategy. When we go to Vegas, something like that, if we're not in the lead, we want a caution to come out with 10 to go because we want the opportunity to go take spots away and be an asset to our driver. But I think up until that point of the race, it was kind of, I wouldn't call it a boring race, but it was there wasn't a lot going on in the middle. That we hadn't had the big accident. There hadn't been a lot of like little accidents. So the race went by pretty quick, and just being a part of enough of them, you just knew the energy was building. You knew something was going to happen. You knew kind of when you get to that last like 20, 25 lap window after that green flag pit cycle happens, like everybody is chomping at the bit and the wreck is going to come. You can feel it. You just hope that you're not the one in it. We were kind of in it. We were part of the catalyst that maybe set that whole wreck off with the 48 giving us a big shove. The 1 car trying to block the 6, William paying attention to what's going on in front of him. So it was, yeah, we were part of the start of it, but that had been brewing for at least 10 laps. If you had watched, there was a lot of really bad bumps. And I get it. It's the Daytona 500. Everybody wants you're either going to go home with the trophy or you're going home with just a steering wheel. So it's understandable. But it was fortunate that we were on the right side of it this time. Usually, I think I've done 13, 14 Daytona 500s, and I think I've only finished like 4 of them. So, yeah, it's one of those deals.
When that pit stop happens, I know that they talked about on the broadcast that 3 of the 4 Hendrick cars came out in the top 5. You have to like your odds on a super speedway, pack racing, you're a team. But it did come down to the final. It was 4 laps. So the caution came out with 9, you get down to 4, and then y'all go at 3. On the restart, what are you thinking, knowing that you're this close, knowing that it was 5 years ago? Was it with Kyle Busch, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
So you were close with Kyle, thinking you're this close, you're in the front, your driver has, he's stepped up last year. He took his game to another level, won 6 times. Everybody was talking about him, made the championship 4. Now he's in position to win the Daytona 500. What is going through your mind on that final restart?
I mean, you can't ask for much more. I really thought that the way the lineup was, that maybe one of our teammates would get behind us. But just the way that the picking order is and the preferred line kind of being the top on the super speedways, it didn't happen that way. But that like Austin Cindric, who's behind us, he wants to push like hell because he wants to get to the front. So he's going to do everything he can do to help us clear all those cars. So that way he can probably, try to pass us and have an opportunity. And, Corey LaJoy, who's behind him, Corey's thinking the same thing. If I push really hard on the 2 car and we all stay together, there's a chance that we can, that outside lane could break up, which is kind of what ended up happening when that 3rd lane started.
Right.
They now have to play a little bit of defense. So you almost are like in a really short green white checker situation like that. Being on the bottom is not exactly a bad thing. So you only have to really defend on one side of you because you have the double yellow line on the left. So it's really fortunate that we were in that position, that we didn't get caught up in that wreck. I'm just thinking, man, I hope that damage doesn't slow us down, and I hope the 2 car pushes, because it's going to be, I mean, you watched it the last 4 laps. It was side by side, and yeah, I don't think there was ever a point in time up until the white flag flew that I was like, we're going to make it out of this.
Okay, so then the actual white flag comes out, it waves. Your guy crosses the finish line first. Meanwhile, Cindric and Chastain are sliding off to the left in the grass, and there's confusion. The broadcast is confused. No one knows who won. I was listening to Williams radio, and he's talking, did we win? He doesn't know. No one knows what's going on. What's going on pit road?
I knew we won as soon as I saw the 1 and the 2 car getting sideways. I knew right then and there that we had won. Not but a couple 100 feet before that, when we went up to block the top lane, I thought for sure that was the move that we needed to make, but I didn't think he could have done anything else because we were going to get blown by anyways. So it was one of those like, oh, did it just happen? And then when I saw those 2 spinning through the infield, I remember turning around and grabbing Ryan Patton, our front tire carrier. I grabbed him in the chest and I was like, dude, we just won the Daytona 500. He's like, I don't know if we made it to the start finish line. Did we get the white flag? I'm like, we got the white flag. But the thing I didn't know is where they passed us. We were in pit stall 28, so we were pretty far down pit road. I didn't see how close the 24-48 battle was, when the caution came out. I just knew when the 2 cars were spinning and they threw the caution, just a quick glance at the TV, I was like, oh, we're ahead. But I didn't know how much we were or weren't ahead. So I just had that gut feeling I was like, we did it. We won. And I'm looking around, nobody else is like jumping up and down or on the wall. And I'm like, is this real? Do I really think this? Am I wrong? And then we got the confirmation, 10 seconds later, and it was just like through the roof adrenaline. It's one of the coolest feelings ever. It compares to winning a championship. Same kind of feeling, because it's the championship is one race to win it all. You put everything in to win a championship all year long. You get that opportunity, and it's super special. Now, like Daytona, everybody has the opportunity to win. It's not just 4 cars. So like everybody's hungry. Everyone's trying to do it. And it's such a prestigious race in our sport. A lot of people call it the Super Bowl of NASCAR. I don't think it's the Super Bowl. I think the championship is the Super Bowl. It's what determines the champion. It's the end of the season. I think the Super Bowl has all the fanfare, all the publicity, everything that makes it the great American race and make it the spectacle that the Super Bowl is. I think in that terms, yeah, it's the Super Bowl of our sport. It's where all the money goes to. It's all the broadcasting, everyone wants to see it because it's such a big event. So to be able to be in a position to win it and to win that race is super special.
Okay, so then after the race, immediately you guys all come out and you congratulate William and everybody's high-fiving and hugging. Then you guys go to the stage, and I have to ask, because I saw something later. Did we see the big hat?
The big hat was there.
Okay.
Don't worry.
It wasn't on the broadcast. It came out
Yeah.
later. I saw it on something else, but I didn't see it initially. So I was thinking, okay, we talked about this whenever we talked last, and you weren't sure, but it did come out. So it did reappear. So I guess that's the theme. We're continuing that theme in 2024.
I guess we're just going to have to win another race and find out.
Okay. So what happens after the race? I know that William goes to the media center and has all his media obligations. What is the pit crew and everybody else doing?
We go pit the Xfinity race right after it. So for us, it's the Daytona 500. It's the great American race. It's the one that everybody wants to win. And you want to be a part of that. You want to be up there on the stage. You want to get the hats. You want to take the pictures. You want to be immersed in that for as long as possible, because you never get a chance to do that again in my career, with the crapshoot that those speedway races can be. So like, I want to soak it all up. I don't want to just take one picture and be like, hey, see you later. I got to go do this Xfinity race. So we joked before the race. We're like, hey, if we win Daytona 500, do we have to go pit that Xfinity race? We're like joking with our coaches, like, can you find somebody else to do it? And they're like, ha ha, ha ha. So we win, and then their coaches are in victory lane, and we're like, seriously, somebody else going to do that, or are we doing it? And, we take all of our pictures, and you kind of get to that point in victory lane where everyone's kind of hanging out. It's not so much orchestrated anymore. Everyone's kind of taking selfies with their cell phones and taking the pictures they want to take with the people they, want to get them with.
Right.
And then we hear the cars fire up on the grid, to warm the engines up to get ready for pace laps. And I remember looking at Pat and I was like, we got to go. Like, I want to be here and I really don't want to leave, but we still have to pit that Xfinity race. So we ran out of victory lane. We ran in our Exalta Fire suits. We got pit guns. I had a champagne bottle in one hand. I had a sleeve of hats in the other hand, pit guns. We show up to the pit box, and Dale Jr.'s in the pit box. And he's like, hey, man, congratulations. I'm like, thanks, dude. Hey, is it okay if we wear these fire suits? He goes, yeah, that's good. That's fine. I got the Daytona 500 champions pit in my car tonight. And I'm like, it couldn't be a cooler. Like, Mr. H is one of the greatest guys to work for ever. And then to have the opportunity to go work for Dale Jr. as well. It's like, he's just so happy. He's just such a, historian of the sport. He understands how hard that race is to win. I don't think anybody on that, 8 JRM road crew would have tried to pull us out of victory lane to get there if they could. They did everything. They did a great job setting up the pit box for us. Pretty much when we got there, we were ready to go. We just had to plug pit guns in, put on your knee pads, and they had everything set up for us ready to go, because they understand, like, we're not gonna take that away from those guys. But as long as you make it here as soon as possible, preferably before the first pit stop, it'll be good. So we end up making it there, no big deal. And then Sammy Smith ran a good race. We had a shot at it, just didn't work out, but we could have doubled up. We were close, about a mile and a half away.
First of all, I'll give you an 8 out of 10 on the junior impression. Secondly, who is pitting for the 8 car throughout the season if you guys are called on in the first race of the season? That is a question that just popped in my head.
Yeah, so the 24 pit crew pits the 8 JRM Xfinity car all season. Yep.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured. So, I mean, that's obviously a really awkward situation that you don't get to celebrate like you would typically do after you won the 500. When did the celebration commence?
I think, well, it's going to commence tonight. We have a little get together tonight, because right after, Daytona, with it being a shortened week with the rain out, everybody flew back. Nobody stayed. Like, there's usually that champions breakfast in the morning. Nobody stayed there. The whole road crew, Rudy, William had to go off on his media obligations. Had to get a car ready for Atlanta, with the rain out, it's a shortened week. So we as a team decided that we're going to do something different when we have an opportunity. And then, a couple days ago, 2 days ago at Hendrick Motorsports, we had like a little happy hour get together as a company, like a cheers, congratulations. It's not you don't win that race by accident. It takes a lot of luck, but it takes a lot of preparation and a lot of hard work to put yourself in that position to capitalize on that luck. So everyone at Hendrick Motorsports did a great job getting cars ready. All four of our cars finished. None of them were destroyed, which is probably a first ever. So it was really good to have such a good day for Hendrick Motorsports at the Daytona 500.
What does the celebration entail tonight? I'm curious.
I have no idea.
So is it going to be the whole team and William and everybody's going to be there? It's just going to be all the
Yeah, I
how
imagine it's going to be, us and our spouses and loved ones kind of getting together and celebrating and kind of like a kickoff, like, hey, we got a lot more of this to come. So
All right. We talked about this in the last interview. We talked about the 24 and 24. And then I hear Mr. H during the post race saying, hey, it's the 24 and 24. So we've got a theme going. You started here. And I think a really interesting note, and I heard Kevin Harvick and I've heard multiple people talking about it this week, that William really hasn't been given his due over the years. And not disrespectful, but he's not looked at as that top tier driver at HMS. Do you feel he's now established himself as a full-blown superstar and hopefully people will start to recognize that?
I would hope so. I still think uh, I'm speaking, as my perception of it, that I think maybe, being in the shadow of Kyle Larson, who gets all the hype with all the midget racing he does and all the sports sprint car racing he does and how successful he has been in the Cup Series the last couple of years. And then
Right.
you have Chase Elliott, who's the most popular driver in NASCAR and will continue to be probably as long as he keeps racing. It's I want to say he's living in that shadow, but he definitely gets lost in the mix in the way I feel. I don't feel like people give him credit, give him the due that he probably deserves. And this whole team with Rudy and everybody else, I don't think that hurts him at all. I think that's more fuel, that's more fire. Like, hey, we're going to go out there and we're going to do our thing. I know for our team, like pit crew wise, we keep our blinders on. We don't really care what other teams are doing and what other teams are getting the accolades on TV and getting hyped up or, put down for making mistakes. We know if we go out there and we execute, the results are going to speak for themselves. And I feel like Williams the same way. I don't think he's going to be the guy to give you a sound bite every week. He's not the old Kyle Busch, but, he's going to be the guy who's going to go out there and do what Kyle did. He's going to be in the positions to win. He's going to capitalize. He's going to take victories when he should, and can't wait to be a part of it.
All right, Jeff, I'm really happy for you. Obviously, you're off to a great start. I appreciate you joining me. I know it's been just a little over 10 days since we last spoke. Maybe we'll be speaking again next week after Atlanta. So again, thanks for joining us and congratulations on winning your first Daytona 500.
All right, I appreciate it. Hey, like I said, if this keeps working, we keep winning. I got to keep coming on. We'll have a whole segment.
Very good. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thank you.